Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. My name's Ron Tyler. We want to welcome you to our program this morning. This afternoon, actually. It's this afternoon here on the East Coast here. Just give me a quick second here. I need to bring our webcam more into focus where we're at. I don't want it covered by our banner here, but we want to talk about Hurricane Erin today. We just finished with Sunday school a few minutes ago, and I promised yesterday I would talk about Hurricane Erin, and that's exactly where we want to go right now. I'm going to give you an update on Hurricane Erin as we have seen early this morning when the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center came out with this report. This report comes out of Florida itself, so please, guys, stand by for what they have to say. It's very important. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you all needing to know what's going on with Hurricane Erin and also what we have going with our emergency preparedness. Stand by here, guys. This is important information for all of you.
Welcome. You are looking live from St. Petersburg to Jacksonville, Florida, from Pinellas to Duval. Yes, I've got my Sunday teal on for good reason. Plenty of family and friends back in Duval. Jaguars home opener again September 7th. Home opener September 7th against the Panthers, so I'm looking for a great start to the season. But we're here, two meteorologists that love sports, we love weather, and we are updating the latest on the National Hurricane Center advisories that have been coming in with historic Hurricane Erin. And let's get this party started. And we can say, yeah, we can get the party started because it's still expected to curve to the north and northeast. In fact, I'm going to head over to the weather wall, Troy, give a little, set the table here for a little Sunday brunch here and a special live update here at 11 o'clock on 11:01. So this just came in from the National Hurricane Center. So I'm literally looking at this for the first time, like you at home. And the one thing that I notice here is that pressure is a little higher than we talked about yesterday. You remember yesterday that pressure down under 920 millibars, so 946 millibars. And sure enough, you know, the lower the pressure, the stronger the storm, higher the pressure, usually not as strong. But it's a formidable storm. We're still talking Cat 3 winds, Category 3 with 125 mile per hour sustained winds. The best news of all, instead of that west movement we saw yesterday when Robert and I were showing you, I said, we're waiting. Come on, baby, turn, baby, turn. Well, we're seeing more of a west-northwest movement at 13, and right now 200 miles north-northwest of San Juan, Puerto Rico. So everything's still on track as far as where this is heading. And you can see this.
This tote is capable of feeding you breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Action. Okay, central dense overcast here. The good news is the core of the system is still staying just to the north of the islands. Okay, and we're expecting this core to not have any direct land impacts at this point. Bad news is, yeah, there's a lot of rain we've been tracking on radar for our friends in San Juan, Puerto Rico to St. Thomas and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. You see the latest track here, just updating here. So we've got the 11 a.m. Don't see any surprises, still Cat 3, and we're saying it's reorganizing a little bit today, so don't be surprised it could go back to a Cat 4, so no surprise there. 145 mile per hour winds as we head toward the wee hours of tomorrow morning, and then as we go through the week, still major Category 3. I mean, we're talking all the way through at least Wednesday, it looks like, but the big thing is that turn it's taking as we head into next week. Monday, starting to turn a little more north, and then northeast as we head into Wednesday. And the original call staying at least 700 miles to the east of Jacksonville Beach still looks like it's on track, and also splitting between Bermuda and the United States. So the little island nation's right at the edge, a little tippy of the box right there. So good news. So as we look at the tropical cone history, we've been giving kudos to the National Hurricane Center as far as the latest. It's been pretty accurate. It's been spot on for the most part here. So keeping everybody safe, informed, prepared, and connected continues here as we go through today. Not looking for any surprises, and we've got great consensus in all the models. So another close look if you're just joining us live at 11:03 from St. Pete. to Jacksonville. We are talking about good news. Erin is showing signs that, yes, everything's on track, taking that north turn tomorrow as we go into the early part of the week, and then eventually to the northeast and away from the United States and between the U.S. and Bermuda. So as we zoom in, you see the blue boxes here with the tropical storm warnings. That's the Turks and Caicos Islands, the Turks and Caicos. The Bahamas in the yellow, there's your tropical storm watches. Okay, but again, it looks like the core of the system staying to the north and northeast of the islands. And then as we head through tomorrow, there it is. Really, I think this week it'll peak out first thing on our Monday morning with winds sustained at about 145 miles per hour. And then there's that curl we're talking about and turn to the east of Florida. Best news of all, but as we go through the week, yeah, this is going to send a nasty rip current, swells, seas, elevated tides. So Robert's going to be talking more about that coming up. And then there's that swing off to the north and northeast. As we look at the overall picture, there's our spaghetti models we've been showing. Good consensus. You want all the models to agree. We're seeing that right now. There's Bermuda, San Juan, even my UMET's on board along with the H-Wharf. We take a look at the wind field. Again, the wind's not the big thing I'm worried about with this system, even though, yeah, it's a powerful Category 3 and soon to be 4 again today, still keeping the highest wind speeds and the best chance of tropical storm force winds just off to the east, okay, of the United States and to the west of St. George and Bermuda. We take a look at the forecast wind. If you do have friends in Bermuda, the latest models have been much more optimistic, keeping those wind speeds in Bermuda closer to 40 miles per hour, less maybe brief tropical storm force winds. The GFS model a little more bullish, trying to take it closer to hurricane force winds as we head into the middle of the week. But again, for Bermuda, I think the news will be good for our friends there as the core of the system does continue to stay away from the island. We take a look at the big picture here, the flooding going on. We've been showing this morning here on 10 Tampa Bay News this morning. We've had numerous flash flood warnings in the islands. St. Thomas, I was zooming in on, Robert, earlier this morning. Now we've got, unfortunately, Puerto Rico and the southern coast getting in on some amazing rainfall rates. I was picking up 3-4 inches of rain per hour. So, yeah, front and center. Your big impacts here would be the flooding, the heavy rain for the islands with those bands just wrapping around the center there. And as we look at the big picture, speaking of that center, you can really make it out on radar here. You can see the big swirl just to the north here of the Dominican Republic here. And as it continues to move off to the west-northwest. Watches and warnings, again, just a little closer look, mainly for the Turks, Caicos, and the Bahamas right now, the southeast Bahamas and the watch. The big angry ball of convection and energy, we've been calling it, again, continues to head off to the west-northwest today. Notice the highest winds here staying just to the north of the islands, but there will be some tropical storm force gusts for areas to Turks and Caicos. The snug corner could see some 41-mile-per-hour gusts, and then off toward Port Nelson with 36-mile-per-hour gusts. But now we're going to transition more to the impacts here on the east coast of Florida. That's why we got our Robert Speta, our meteorologist, in from Duval. And Robert, since yesterday, what I wanted to show you is we're starting to see more impacts. It looks like a little bit higher seas and surf that you and I were anticipating yesterday because this is such a much stronger storm, and if anything, it's expanding as I speak. And it looks like that surf there easily for the St. Augustine Pier up over 8 feet as we head into the middle of the week.
You know something I love almost as much as I...
Yeah, you know, and that's going to be one of the big things. The surf increasing out there. I mean, 7 feet plus easy up and down the eastern seaboards from this storm. Hey, and one other thing I do want to note, and this is only just kind of responding to a lot of questions and comments I've gotten about that track. We are saying this is moving towards northwest. All guidances indicate that. But I do want to continue to stress that it does appear to be still moving west, but this turn is going to be towards the north and west here soon. For everybody watching this and you're going, what? And then you might be thinking, well, I saw yesterday it moved towards the southwest. I got a fun word for you here, Mike. I know you know this one, but for everybody at home, it's called a trochodial wobble. Yeah, there's a fun little meteorological word. And basically, the storm has been kind of wobbling back and forth. Think of if you have a washing machine and you don't load it right, and it starts to spin and it goes dum, 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 dum. That's kind of what happens when these storms get up to Cat 4, Cat 5 intensity. They start to do this little wobbling. But that's basically as this moves west. Now we're going to start to see that turn turn towards the north and west. So let's talk about, as it moves away here, as it skirts the coast of the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas, it moves off towards the north. And this is the key thing. Look at this. So this is moving through here Monday into Tuesday, staying well towards the east of the state of Florida. Good news there, right? But what we're going to be seeing is, look at the wind flow on the northwestern side of this, interacting with this high pressure ridge located over the southeastern United States. And then you have this long fetch area. Fetch is basically the meteorological word for the amount of time wind blows over water. Think of if you're standing on a lake or even a pond, watch the wave action and where the wind's coming from. If you're standing on the side where the wind is blowing from, there's not much waves. You're standing where it's blowing towards, there's some bigger waves. We're going to have this long fetch area pushing those bigger waves up along the east coast of Florida. And I do think we're going to be looking at those breakers 7 feet or higher at times. I mean, I know surfers, they're getting stoked about this, but this is some sketchy waves out there. I mean, there could be some even larger than 7 feet, up to 9 feet. Plus, it's a very powerful swell. And I know that's something you don't think about when you look at waves in the ocean, but the swell power is actually a measurable thing. And with that, that's going to increase the risk of rip currents out there as well. So it can't stress enough. And I know it's silly to say, but let's say it again. Stay out of the water. I'm going to put a 4-letter word in there. I'm not going to say it. Stay out of the water, please, people. It's going to be dangerous, life-threatening rip currents mixed in with this. Also, if you go outside in the early morning, look up at the moon. It is a kind of a waning crescent right now. We're nearing the new moon, so we have a spring tide. That means the tides are actually getting a little bit higher than your average tide. That combined with that onshore flow is going to be backing up the bays, the inlets. The St. Johns River for the east coast of Florida and Jacksonville area already is running a bit above average. So when you have those tides backed up, you already have water levels a little bit high, you could be looking at some tidal flooding. I don't expect, goodness gracious, we're not seeing Irma type tidal flooding out there, not even remotely, but some of those classic low-lying tidal plains that you see during the king tide flooding, you probably are going to be seeing that, and some moderate beach erosion out there in our dunes, just because of the power and that swell. And as Mike just mentioned, that bigger wind field out there, that it's just going to be stretching, kind of pushing all this over that wider fetch area. So here's a look at that rip current through early next week. It's not just the east coast of Florida, it's up and down the eastern seaboard, all the way out towards the Outer Banks as well. And here's a look at those tides that I was talking about. Now, this is specifically for Jax Beach, so I'm just putting that there. This is right at the pier starting today. About 3:48 is your high tide Monday morning, but more so I think that 5:20 a.m. high tide and that 6 p.m. high tide on Tuesday evening, and then Wednesday morning is kind of the times you really want to watch this. Now, remember the St. Johns River further inland is downtown Jacksonville. That high tide is probably going to be an hour to an hour and a half, a bit after that. But those are really the big issues we're watching here on the east coast of Florida, and is why we do actually here at First Coast News in Jacksonville, we have a weather impact alert in place, not because of rain. And in fact, Mike,
I'm ready.
We don't really have rain in the forecast Tuesday and Wednesday. It is just going to be that stiff onshore breeze out there that's going to be creating that dangerous rip currents out here, Mike.
Yeah, hey, great points, Robert. And yeah, I saw the big 3, big 4, and you and I were hoping.
The best vitamin for sciatic nerve.
Rain a bit this week, especially Northeast Florida. The problem is when these systems miss you off to the east, they wrap all the moisture toward their center, and we've got subsidence. We can go into some big vocabulary words, but what you need to know is it's going to be unusually quiet, sunny, and beautiful, and people want to go to the beach. They want to see the big surf, and a lot of folks are tempted to get in. But I like your advice. Please stay out of the water. Let me head over to the weather wall. Let's take a look at.
Okay, stay out of the water. This is a big deal. Stay out of the water. Okay, can't emphasize that enough. Monday through the rest of this week, up and down the entire east coast of North America, from Florida north to Canada, even Nova Scotia, stay out of the water. They're emphasizing Monday through Wednesday in Florida. I'm taking it a step further. We're going up the entire east coast of North America. Stay out of the water. Rip currents, because of the waning moon towards the new moon, it's going to create a higher surf, but also a major tidal flooding is going to happen. Not just minor tidal flooding, but major tidal flooding up and down the entire East Coast. In Florida, they'll see minor tidal flooding and some beach erosion. But as the storm moves north, it gets closer to the shoreline in South and North Carolina and up into Virginia, and even closer to the coast up in Nova Scotia, Canada. This is important to remember. Stay out of the water. You're going to see some high surf, somewhere between 6 and 7 foot high surf. You're going to see some tidal flooding and even see rip currents because of the winds. Stay out of the water. Rip currents can take you from the beach and put you out in the middle of the ocean before you can say Jack the Ripper. That's the truth. Don't swim in the ocean. Stay out of the water completely. Okay? Now, besides that, I'm going to take you even further than this than I originally had planned on going, but we're going to talk about earthquakes now. Okay? Over in Fiji, let's go over to the USGS map here. Over in Fiji, I'm going to take down our banner here. I'm going to take down a webcam. I want to show you what's going on in Fiji. Stand by for just a second because I got to get us out of the Kamchatka Peninsula. By the way, there's not just 3 earthquakes over off the Kamchatka Peninsula, but about a dozen. Those are aftershocks of that major earthquake we had just a week ago. Okay, let's go down here into Fiji area. Okay, right here. Okay, this was a 4.5 earthquake. This was a 4.5 earthquake, 376 kilometers deep. I'm sorry, 376 miles deep. Guess what? 615 kilometers deep. This is a deep earthquake. 4.5 earthquake here, guys. It is a deep earthquake. What is that going to do? What do you think that's going to do, guys? What have we talked about this before? I should say, how we talked about this before. Let's take this down just briefly here. I want to go to the depth to magnitude conversion chart here. I want to talk about the depth to magnitude conversion chart. Look at this. Let me enlarge this so you can see what I'm talking about. 615 kilometers deep. Okay, let me enlarge this here so you can see what I'm talking about. It shows the first here, it shows the depth of the earthquake here. Then over on the right on each panel, each side here, it shows the magnitude that we need to add according to the depth of the earthquake. Okay, so let's enlarge it here. Okay, you can see where it says 705 kilometers deep here up at the top. Let's go down over here just to the left of that to 16 kilometers or 615 kilometers deep. We need to add a 1.23 to that earthquake. A 1.23 added to that earthquake. So let's take that down and go back out to the USGS map. Okay. Again, this earthquake, guys, was a deep earthquake. Okay, no doubt about it. This was very much a deep earthquake. Let's take a look at this. Okay, this was a 4.5 earthquake. Because of the depth of this earthquake, we're going to take this up to 5.7 earthquake. a magnitude 5.7 earthquake. That's minimum. Now, yesterday we had another moderate earthquake, and we said it was going to go between 5.3 to 5.6 as a propagation of an earthquake. Okay, that earthquake yesterday is going to propagate a larger, stronger quake. Okay, larger, stronger, shallower quake. As that quake is also going to happen. Yes, it is. It's going to happen. It's going to happen someplace, probably in the same area, but it could go over into the Loyalty Islands to the southwest. It could go over into Vanuatu, or even the Solomon Islands or Papua New Guinea. It will do that. But this will do the same. This 4.5 is going to propagate a larger, shallower quake, upwards of a 5.7 earthquake. 5.7 earthquake, guys. You need to remember that. We're going to have another large earthquake here in this area. Be advised. It could be over here in Fiji to the northwest. You go over into, like I said, the Loyalty Islands to the southwest, and over here into Vanuatu, or up into the Solomon Islands, or over into Papua New Guinea here. Okay? Going down here further to the southeast here. This is a 5.5 earthquake, 21 kilometers deep. Very shallow earthquake. Very, very shallow earthquake, but it is a 5.5 large earthquake. It's down south of Tonga. It's not going to do anything. There's no islands here where it could do anything to. The ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorb the shock waves of this quake. Okay? But we are fearing this earthquake here that just happened here, just recently today. 4.5 earthquake is going to propagate another large 5.7 earthquake. Let's go further here to the west here. This is Port Olry, Vanuatu. Port Olry, Vanuatu. This is a 5.0 large quake. 21 miles east-northeast of Port Olry. 21 miles east-northeast of Port Olry, Vanuatu. Okay, let's look at this. Okay, this just barely 21 miles offshore. The people here in Port Olry are going to, or actually have already felt the earthquake here. No, they did not feel the 5.0, but they probably felt a 4.5 earthquake here on shore. It did not do any damage. Did not do any damage at all. But guess what, guys? These earthquakes, even though they're far enough off ashore, they can still be felt over here on shore in some manner or fashion. Okay? That's what happened here. Let's go over here to Papua New Guinea. Okay? This is another large 5.0 earthquake here, just south of Kimbe, Papua New Guinea, Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. A large 5.0 earthquake. Guess what? Number one, it's 101 miles southeast of Papua New Guinea. Number two, it is only 6.2 miles deep. It is a shallow earthquake. Because of the depth of this earthquake, and also the distance of this earthquake from Papua New Guinea, nobody felt this quake at all. At all. The ocean waters of the Pacific Ocean absorbed the shock waves of this quake as well. Okay? Nobody felt it. Let's go out here into Indonesia. I want to say this. I'm very disappointed again in the USBS. Okay? They show 2 earthquakes when there are 36 earthquakes here in Indonesia. 36 earthquakes in Indonesia, they show 2. Over here in northern, or I should say northern, it is north central Indonesia here. This is a large, very large 5.8 earthquake. A very large 5.8 earthquake, and guess what? It's on land, right here at the shoreline. 5.8, very dangerous earthquake here along the shoreline of Sulawesi, Indonesia. The people here felt this earthquake. It was only 7 miles away from shore. They felt this earthquake. Anybody living in this nearby vicinity felt this earthquake. Yes, there are people living right here. There are people living right here. Right down here. Look at that. They felt this earthquake, guys. This is a very dangerous, large earthquake. Yes, it's 5 miles deep, but it is a very 5.8 large earthquake. 5.5 to 5.8 are very large earthquakes. 5.8 earthquakes can do a lot of damage. Now, I hate it that USGS has said that 5.0 earthquakes are lighter or moderate earthquakes. They're not. Moderate earthquakes they said were once 4.0, 4.9. They changed it last year. Now, I understand they don't want to rile people up. They don't want to scare people. But the fact of the matter is this: 5.8 earthquakes do a lot of damage. Not moderate damage, they do tremendous damage, and they can kill people. I've seen it happen. I've seen this happen. Surgery's asking, how far into class are we? Surgery, we talked about the Hurricane Erin, how it's still steering towards the south, or actually not south, but west northeast area here. It's headed to the northwestern side, but it's headed north as well. It's headed west and it's headed north as well. It's making the turn. It's making the turn. But I want to show you these earthquakes because I think it's important we understand what's going on here. Let's go up here, okay? Up here to the north, Tobelo, Indonesia. We have another large 5.5 earthquake here. Large 5.5 earthquake out here in the ocean. Okay, another large 5.5 earthquake. This happens to be 30 kilometers deep, or 30 miles deep, 65 kilometers deep. This earthquake is a large 5.0. This is 22 miles deep. This earthquake happened yesterday after 11:31 a.m. Over 24 hours old. Actually, now it's close to 27 hours old. This earthquake happened here yesterday also. It's also an old earthquake. I thought that they would definitely take this down, but they haven't yet. But I wanted to point this out to you. We didn't come on the air to talk about these earthquakes yesterday, but I'm talking to you now. This happened at approximately 11:03 a.m. Eastern Time yesterday. This happened at 11:31, just about 20 minutes later. The 5.0 is an aftershock of the 5.5 here. Now, they're still not showing earthquakes up here in the Philippines, which is a crying shame. There are 4 earthquakes, all of them 4.0 and larger here along the eastern side of the Philippines. That needs to be told. Over here near Manila, we have a couple of earthquakes here. This is a 4.9, 5.0 earthquake here. Okay, it's south of the island of, what's it called? I had it on the tip of my tongue and now it just left me. But this island is the northernmost island of the Philippines. Okay, this is a large 5.0 earthquake. This may have done damage here. I believe it was close enough to the coastline that anybody that lives in this peninsula area, which they do. My son served a mission in this town called Catahargan, and I know I'm butchering the name of this town. I don't speak Filipino, but he served his mission here in this area, and this quake was right close to it. Okay, this is a 5.0 earthquake. Just further north over here on the other side, this is another 4.5 earthquake here. This is 100 kilometers deep. Very important. Very important. Okay? These earthquakes happen, and they're very dangerous. Just south of Taiwan here, this is another large 5.2 earthquake here. South of Taiwan in the South China Sea here, this is a large 5.2 earthquake, 6.2 miles deep. 6.2 miles deep. Okay? Then I want to go over here to southern Japan. We have some earthquakes here in Japan, but USGS is not showing us anything but this one over here in southern Japan. This is also a 5.6 very large earthquake. 5.5 to 5.9 earthquakes are very large earthquakes. This is right near the shoreline, 17 miles off the shore. And this is a heavily populated area here. 17 miles off the shore, and this is a very populated area. These people may not have felt the full 5.6, but they probably did feel a 5.0 to 5.3 earthquake here. Fact. So we may see some damage here in southern Tokyo. I have not looked up the damage, but we may have seen some damage here in southern Japan here. Okay, that is very close to the sea, to the shoreline here. Okay, there are other earthquakes here. I may come back on the air a little bit later to talk about that. Over here in the Indian Ocean, way far off in the Indian Ocean here. This is in the central mid-Atlantic, along what they call the Carlsberg Ridge. This is another large 5.0 earthquake. It's also 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. This earthquake being where it is, notice where this Carlsberg Ridge is. This seismic energy is going to climb the Carlsberg Ridge here and go up here into the Arabian Sea. Then it could go over here into Saudi Arabia. The seismic energy could go over here to Saudi Arabia. But we've also seen it go here into Iran. We've seen seismic energy climb from the Carlsberg Ridge all the way over here into Iran. If it does so, it could possibly hit about Wednesday this week. Could hit Wednesday this week. So be aware of that. Now, I don't believe, even if it does hit Iran, I don't believe it's going to be much more than a 4.5 earthquake. But it can do that. It can do that. They're not showing any earthquakes here in southwestern China, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan. They're not showing anything here in India, Pakistan, or even Iran or Iraq. Not showing anything. Not showing anything here in the Middle East or even Europe. We know there are earthquakes here. Be advised, there are earthquakes here. We will be talking about that another time. Okay? There are probably 1,000 earthquakes here in Europe today. 1,000 earthquakes just here in Europe today. Incredible. Does anybody have any questions for me? Does anybody have any questions about these earthquakes today? This is important. This is very important. One other earthquake I want to talk to you about off the coast of Central America here, on the Cocos Plate. This is south of Puerto San Jose, Guatemala, on the Cocos Plate. This is another large 5.4 earthquake. Large 5.4 earthquake here. But it's far enough down south. It's 53 miles off the coast. I don't think it had any influence on Guatemala or San Salvador. That's a good thing. We had 15 earthquakes here in Central America here, and we have 42 earthquakes between Puerto Vallarta here in the northern part of southern Mexico, all the way down here to the border area of Mexico and Guatemala. 42 earthquakes that they're not bothering telling us about. A crying shame. A crying shame. Because we are about due to have a major earthquake right about in this area of southern Mexico, being between Oaxaca and Mexico City here. Oaxaca, Mexico City here. It can happen. It can happen very quickly. We're going to keep our eyes on this because what happens here is going to affect us here in the southern United States. What happens here in southern Mexico is going to affect us here in the United States. Fact. Fact. Over here in the Gulf of California here, we have another large 5.0 earthquake. Guess what? This one is on the San Andreas Fault. This earthquake in the Gulf of California is on the San Andreas Fault. This earthquake can go north here. This seismic energy here could go north into northern Mexico and or, guess what? The Imperial Valley or San Diego. It could go north here into the Imperial Valley and or San Diego. Be advised of that. I've talked a great deal about a major earthquake in Southern California. Yes, it could still happen because seismic energy is locked up here in the Imperial Valley and southeast of Los Angeles here on the San Andreas Fault. That's locked and loaded. So even the least bit of large earthquake energy here could creep into the upper or the San Andreas Fault here in Southern California and wreak havoc. We'll keep an eye on this as well. Do we have any questions from anybody about anything here? Do we have questions about anything here involving these earthquakes or the Hurricane Erin? Any questions? Rich is saying here, I'm thinking seismicity is doing something very strange very soon. I agree it is. Absolutely agree it is. Surgery says that wind before the rain coupled the factor. Yes, it's going to be a factor. Huge factor. Huge factor. Cassandra says her daughter's flying back to Los Angeles this evening. Worried. I'd be worried too. I have children. I have family in San Diego. I have family over in the Imperial Valley as well. I have family over in Los Angeles as well. And dear friends that I used to work with. Yes, I'm concerned. That's why we're talking about this. This is exactly why we're discussing this. Not just because of my family, but yours as well. We have a lot of EMA family. We have family members and friends all over Southern California. It's about to happen. I believe it could happen any day now. And Pickering says, what is going on is life-threatening. Be wary. I absolutely agree. It is life-threatening. The hurricane could be life-threatening if you go out into the water. Stay away from the water. Yes, there's going to be extremely high winds along the coastline of North America and Nova Scotia, Canada. 40+ mile-per-hour winds. That is extreme winds. That is extreme winds, and it's dry heat as well. So be careful out there. Make sure you have plenty of water. Make sure you're aware of fire danger. Don't flick cigarettes or anything outside your car. Don't flick cigarettes or anything burning, period. Don't drive your car over weeds and brush. Don't do it. Don't do it. Be extremely safe, guys. Even barbecues. Make sure your barbecue is well shielded away from any building or fence line that it could catch on fire. Be very safe. Okay? Be very safe. Guys, I care about you. I love you very much. I only came on the air to give you this warning and update about Hurricane Erin and talk about these earthquakes. because that one earthquake in southern Fiji may be a doozy, because it is going to propagate a very large earthquake. Be wary of that. I have friends in Fiji. I have friends and family over in Vanuatu as well. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. I love you very much, guys. I know the Lord loves you as well. I just got through bearing you my testimony a few minutes ago. Have a good day, everyone. Be safe. God bless you. And please worship God. We'll see you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.